We're living in times of crisis, from climate change to social injustice, to the end of economic systems, to the healthcare crises that we're facing. And what is the solution? The solution is to return back to the ancient ways, the feminine ways of being in right relationship with the earth, with our destinies, with our bodies, and with each other. This is what the shamans have done for millennia. Today, we master not only the ancient wisdom, but the cutting-edge neuroscience that teaches us how to heal, how to prevent disease, how to not succumb to the illnesses of civilization, including dementias and cancers, and how to help our loved ones to die consciously. This is the time for the new shamans, for you and I. We have chosen to come back to Earth at this time to help the planet and each other go through a very difficult transition. I invite you to join me in this program to awaken the shaman within you, that we can bring our gifts to the world, to dream a new world into being together.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Hello, everyone. Welcome. My name is Laura, and I welcome you to our
Hello, everyone.
Live event, Return of the Shaman. Please share with us in the chat where are you joining from and maybe how you feel right now, how your day has been so far. Going through these beautiful messages. There are so many of you all over the world. Hello, hello. Thank you for being here today, for joining us in this beautiful Sunday. Thank you for
Going through these beautiful messages. There are so many of you all over the world. Hello, hello. Thank you for being here today, for joining us in this beautiful Sunday. Thank you for going through these beautiful messages. There are so many of you all over the world. Hello, hello. Thank you for being here today, for joining us in this beautiful Sunday. Thank you for going through these beautiful messages. There are so many of you all over the world. Hello, hello. Thank you for being here today, for joining us in this beautiful Sunday. Thank you for going through these beautiful messages. There are so many of you.
hello. So many messages. Thank you so much for your presence. I believe that we are gathered here today most certainly for the same purpose.
So many messages. Thank you so much for your presence. I believe that we
Laura,
are.
we hear we have like a terrible echo. We hear things double. So if you could switch off your sound.
I believe that we are.
Laura, Okay, hello everyone. I hope that the echoing sound is gone now. Maybe one of the team members can give me a sign if that works. Okay, perfect. So welcome again. Thank you for joining us today. We have so many people signing in from so many different places. And yeah, sorry for the little echoing experiment we just did. I guess now we are fine. Alberto's already with us, and we're really excited to spend this evening, this morning, this afternoon with you guys. So keep sharing in the chat box where you're signing in from, and also send us your questions in the chat box. And yeah, let's get going. And I'm going to hand it over to Dr. Alberto Villoldo, who is going to welcome you as well, and who's going to share his wisdom and do a little bit of ceremony with us today. So welcome, Alberto. How are you doing?
Thank you, Stefan. Thank you. Great to be with you. Again, apologies for that echo we were having earlier on. I wasn't sure if it was inside my head or if everybody else could hear that too. Generally, it's only my voice that's inside my head, but I think we have this corrected now. As we have folks joining us, I'd like to invite you to breathe with me in a short shamanic meditation. So I'm going to be drumming, and I'm going to invite you to inhale to a count of 4, hold to a count of 4, exhale to a count of 4, and hold empty to a count of 4. Again, a short 1 minute, 2 minute meditation so that we can drop into that quiet place of gentle breath, breathing together. You know, governments have always been afraid of people that breathe together. That's where the word conspiracy comes from, conspirare, to breathe together. So let's breathe together so that we can breathe and dream a new world into being, of peace and of joy and a right relationship with the earth. Again, inhaling to 4, holding to 4, exhaling to 4, and empty to 4. Let's begin with a deep breath. And another one. And inhaling to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding to 4. 2, 3, 4. Exhaling to 4. 2, 3, 4. Empty to 4. 2, 3, 4. Inhaling to 4. 2, 3, 4. Holding to 4. 2, 3, 4. Exhaling to 4. 2, 3, 4. And empty to 4. 2, 3, 4. Inhaling to 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Holding to 4. 2, 3, 4. Exhaling to 4. 2, 3, 4. And empty to 4. Inhaling to 4. 2, 3, 4. Holding to 4. Exhaling to 4. 2, 3, 4. And empty to 4. Inhaling to 4. 3, 4. Holding to 4. 2, 3, 4. Exhaling to 4. 2, 3, 4. And empty to 4. 2, 3, 4. And inhaling regular, gentle breath. We were slowing our breathing down to about 2 to 3 breaths per minute. if you time yourself after we finish our program, you'll notice that you're breathing between 12 and 15 breaths per minute. This is that hyper-excited fight or flight, the world is ending today kind of breath. And the breathing we were doing was a shamanic breathing, stepping into that gentle breathing where we can begin to reset our fight or flight, where we can step into our higher brain, enter into the altered states of consciousness that we need to work from to be able to bring healing and to bring beauty and to bring peace to the world. So I invite you to practice this exercise. Actually, it's interesting because the special forces in Germany took this over from the shamans. It's a very ancient, actually, the Tibetans and the Hindus breathing practice. And then the US special military forces, and now worldwide, is used to be able to come into a place of calm in the face of great danger. So if there are people that are shooting at you, you can see it's easy to get very scared. And you can make very bad choices when you're coming from a place of fear, even if you're not in the battlefield. And the 4-4-4 breath helps you to reset your physiology, helps you to get into that parasympathetic, that deep relaxation. Because for us humans, breathing is an autonomic function. But for dolphins, for example, breathing is not automatic. They have to choose to take every breath. So they have to go, wow, that felt so nice. I think I'll do another one. Which is why only half of the dolphin's brain sleeps at any one time, because the other half needs to remain conscious to continue breathing. In fact, if a dolphin doesn't like its where it lives in the dolphin show in the amusement park, it'll go into the deep end of the pool and settle to the bottom and decide to stop breathing. Now, the reason I'm sharing this with you is because nature is one huge biology experiment. It's an extraordinary experiment. And we're taking part in a very unusual experiment today. And an experiment where we're quantum leaping into becoming a new human. The shamans call this new human Homo luminous. But I want to give you a couple of other examples of the experiment. In the Andes, for example, the very high Andean villages are at 14, 15, 16,000 feet, like in the Himalayas, like in Nepal or Tibet. But the experiment in the Andes was about bigger hearts, shorter people, less body surface to get cold, bigger hearts, twice the size of our hearts if you live at the beach, and double the amount of hemoglobin, the oxygen transport. In the Himalayas, the experiment was smaller heart, but doubled the amount of mitochondria, the fuel factories inside every cell. The experiment in the Andes didn't work out. People at high altitude die young, whereas in the Himalayas, the Sherpas can go to the top of Mount Everest without any oxygen, and they're long-lived. Nature is experimenting all the time. And right now, we're living in the 5th great extinction event. There have been 5 previous extinction events in the planet where most life forms were eliminated, and we are in the 5th one. The previous one happened when a gigantic meteorite struck the Earth 65 million years ago and eliminated all the dinosaurs and most of the creatures in the planet, which is what allowed our great ancestors, which were kind of like rodent mice-like mammals, to occupy that ecological niche and to become us among other mammals. What happens during an extinction event is that evolution stops following the laws of Newtonian physics, of Newtonian mechanics, which is slow, incremental. The next generation may be smarter and faster, and it begins to follow the laws of quantum physics, of quantum jumping, quantum speciation, so that evolution is no longer in between generations, but evolution happens now within generations. You and I can take that quantum leap, can uncoil our DNA code, another twist and turn to begin to express extraordinary qualities that will allow us to grow a new body, to heal very rapidly without needing to get sick, to have tremendously long lifespans, and maybe even perhaps to never die. I know this sounds pretty outrageous, but let me tell you about another aspect of the experiment. There are 40 million species in the planet. And I'm sure you're wondering what this has to do with shamanism and energy medicine. I'll take you there in a moment. There are about 40 million species in the planet, and only 3 of them do not have death programmed into their DNA. All the other 39.99 million species die when the female is no longer able to reproduce, and they're no longer reproductively viable. There's no menopause in nature. There are no grandmothers in nature. But there are only 3 species in which there are grandmothers, in which menopause happens, that are allowed to have long lives because they don't have a death program. And they are humans, orcas, dolphins, and whales. These, the orca grandmothers teach the young how to hunt. In time, they teach them how to language. They're able to communicate across the world with these deep, hollow voices from San Francisco to Tokyo. They teach them how to hunt. They teach them to socialize. Our grandmothers did that as well. We don't have a death program in our DNA. It's extraordinary, but these are the 3 species also that have the highest brain to body weight ratios, the biggest brains in the smallest bodies. So nature is taking part in an experiment in intelligence. We're taking part in that experiment. And intelligence is not only about brains, it's what the ancients called spirituality. We're taking part in an experiment in achieving extraordinary human capabilities, including the ability to heal ourselves spontaneously, to live very, very long lives, to have our health span equal our lifespan. Extraordinary. What's happened in the last century is that human lifespan actually has increased tremendously by about 35 years. But human health span has not. We're living longer. The morbidity years, the sick years, the wheelchair, the bedridden, the hooked up to tubes, the taking 15 kinds of medication years, the incapacitated years is what were stretched out. We don't have to do that. Now, I was trained as a medical anthropologist. That's how I discovered the shamanic energy medicine practices. And when I was working in the Amazon, I was initially funded by big Swiss pharma. They were looking for the next big breakthrough drug that would help to heal Alzheimer's or cancer, the cancer drugs. Wow, what an industry. Or heart disease. And they funded me for actually a couple of years. And after 2 years of research, of going into backwater villages of the Amazon that had never seen a light-skinned person. In fact, that children would come running to me and they would rub my arms to see if the white dirt would rub off. After 2 years of work, I returned to them and I said, I'm sorry, I didn't find any leaves or barks or roots or potions that could heal cancer or heart disease or dementia or Alzheimer's, because they don't have these illnesses. They don't have them. These are the illnesses of civilization. But what I did learn with working with the shamans were the practices of energy medicine. I learned that illnesses do not exist. that sick people exist, but not illnesses. Diseases don't exist, because the Western medical practice, by the way, is the best medicine in the world for trauma. If you get in a car accident or if you get bit by a snake, don't go see a shaman. Go to the emergency room. And then maybe go and see your shaman to find out why the snake bit you in the first place. But for chronic conditions and for the way that we're dying today in America and in Europe, where if you get to be 85 years old, and you will, you have a 50% risk of having diagnosable Alzheimer's. 50%, if you live to be 90, you have a 75% risk. And this doesn't mean forgetting where you left your car keys. This means forgetting your spouse's name or your children's names. Today, we know we can prevent that. We know how to do it. And this is what energy medicine is about. Energy medicine is about preventing these terrible, debilitating conditions, and about helping our clients and our loved ones and ourselves take that quantum leap to become that new human, to become that homo luminous that doesn't need to get sick, that can heal very rapidly, that can have her health span equal her lifespan. See, my motto, and I'm planning to live to be 150 at least, is to live long and die quick. Die young and die quick at 150. Instead of the way that we're living today, which is to die slowly over many, many years and die of old age. Today, we know that we're going to become older, but we don't have to age as we grow older. We can actually be growing younger. And this is what shamanic energy medicine is about today. Now, during ordinary times, when the laws of evolution followed Newtonian mechanics, slow, gradual, incremental evolution in between generations, the task of the shaman was to help alleviate suffering. But then these amazing windows opened up every few million years where we could practice quantum evolution. And today, our task as modern shamans that are steeped in the ancient wisdom, as well as in cutting-edge brain science and neuroscience, we want to take part in this experiment, in this evolutionary quantum leap where we can grow new bodies that are disease-free, where we don't have to be treating illnesses. Because what we do as shamans is that we create the conditions for health, and then disease doesn't manifest. Or if it's there, it goes away. But you've got to do it at 4 levels, at 4 different levels that the shamans called the level of serpent, of jaguar, of hummingbird, and of condor or eagle. And I want to take you quickly through what these 4 levels are, because this, according to the mythology of the ancients, to the mythologies of the feminine traditions, because the shamanic traditions are feminine traditions. They're not masculine like our Western traditions are, which are reductionistic, atomistic. We think that we can treat the organs in the body separately, like the Great Spirit created us as a bunch of pieces and parts. No, we are a system that cannot be defined by its parts, that transcends its parts, in the same way that you cannot define an eagle by its spleen and its stomach and its GI tract and its beak and its feathers. No, these are the components, and this is what we're treating today. Shamanic energy medicine works with the entire system to upgrade the quality of the system so that healing happens by itself, so you don't have to treat disease. In fact, somebody asked me once, do shamans treat cancer? I said, no. Do you treat fibromyalgia? No. Multiple sclerosis? No, we don't work with illnesses. In fact, for us, illnesses do not exist, because the Western model is for every illness, there's a pill. It's one pill, one ill. But in the energy medicine paradigm, you come into balance with yourself, with your ancestors, with your destiny, with your diet, with your exercise, with the way you forgive, the way you love. You heal trauma, and then physical healing happens. Not only does healing happen, but prevention takes place. You don't get sick. And this is what our task is today as modern shamans. But let me take you through these 4 levels. And this is the way that the shamans of old, across cultures, understood that the Great Spirit created the world. And it's helpful to think of these 4 levels as Russian nesting dolls, which are these dolls that nest inside each other, and that the inner ones are informing, the outer ones are informing the inner ones. So the very first level is the level of serpent. And this is the level of the body, of the physical body. And the language of this level are molecules, and it's a chemical language. And the work of this body, the way we transform it, is through what we eat, what we put in our mouth, the water we drink, the quality of the air we breathe. The level above it is the level of jaguar, which is the level of the mind. And we know that the mind influences the body, that the mind can create psychosomatic disease, but it can also create psychosomatic health. And this is the level of the emotions. We know that in order to heal the body, we have to heal the emotions. We have to heal trauma. But not only the trauma that may have happened to us, but the trauma that we inherited through the family we were born into. These are those tragic family stories that are passed down from mother to daughter or father to son. It's also what in medicine or biology we consider to be the genetic inheritances, the dementia that runs in the family or heart disease that runs in the family. It really doesn't. But what happens is that the minute we subscribe to that belief system, it becomes so. It becomes true. This is the level of those deep-seated toxic emotions and toxic beliefs that need to be cleared out. And this is where energy medicine is so powerful, because these are stored, these trauma is stored in the energy field and in the body. Remember, the body keeps score, but also the energy field that surrounds the physical body. These stories are kept in the form of stale chi, these dark masses of stale, deadly energy that when they're triggered by stress or they're triggered by an incident or by a divorce or then they kick in, they get activated, and they begin to sink tendrils into an organ. So this is an important point, because in our energy field, we don't have imprints for heart disease. That's Western thinking. We have dark, stale energy that the minute it's triggered by stress or trauma will begin to sink roots into an organ, to the weakest organ in the system, and begin to express itself through that system. Energy medicine is able to clear these imprints so that they don't have to get somatized, so that they don't have to work their way out of us through our body, because frequently we're not able to do that because we have become so toxic at the level of serpent with the toxins in our food, the pesticides, the toxins in our water, the polluted air that we've been breathing, the amalgams in our teeth. I remember, many of you maybe also, I remember when I was a boy and the thermometer would break, I would play with the mercury and it would wiggle in my hand, and mercury is a neurotoxin. And then a few years later, I went to my dentist and she put it in my mouth and my teeth. So when our system is toxic and our detox systems are not operating at the level of the body of serpent, we're not able to clear those emotions, to somatize them through the body. And then they become the great illnesses of civilization, the three horsemen of the apocalypse: the cancer, the Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, the dementias, and the heart disease. We don't need to express that genetics if we can clear it from the luminous energy field. This is the level of Jaguar, clearing toxic emotions and limiting beliefs. Shamans learn how to do it energetically. What the shamans of old asked was not only can you do it, but what are the energetics? How does it work? How do we do it? Let's work at the energetic level and not at the level of the story of what happened to me when I was 6. Because we all have spent years chewing and ruminating over those stories without being able to heal them. So the serpent, the physical, jaguar, the mind, the emotions, hummingbird. The level of hummingbird is the level of the myth of the sacred. And here we want to find out, what is the map that we were born with? This map is created by our parents, by our family of origin, and by the stories from our former lifetimes. And we come with a particular map that we then bump into in the world. In fact, in our training, we realized that everything that we experience in our lives is a projection of an internal map. Carl Jung called this the shadow. And then we bump into it in the world. We end up working with a boss that's terrible or marrying into it instead of healing it internally. So at the level of hummingbird, we want to discover a sacred map that gives us a sense of what we came here to do in this life, of meaning and of map that provides for an encounter with the divine and with the sacred. So the language of jaguar was the emotions, the language of hummingbird of images. And then at the level of ego, we have the pure energy. It's pure energy. There are no images, there's no emotion, there's no materiality. It's pure energy. And the shamans understand that you can solve whatever problem you have at the energetic. That whatever problem walks into my office, whether it's a medical diagnosis or horrible emotional trauma, can be resolved energetically. So let me give you a quick example of these 4 levels. So if you're an Olympic skier, you practice every day for hours for your high jump at the level of serpent. You practice physically at the level of serpent. Then at the level of jaguar, you have to overcome your fear of speed, and you have to really sit with your fear of self-sabotage when you're coming in second, and you're then at the level of hummingbird. The top athletes practice through visualization. They see themselves running the course, taking the jump, landing perfectly, and that informs their performance. And then at the level of the energetics, you prime, of course, the system to take you to your goal in the most direct and expedient way. What you do is you set your intention on the goal and you let spirit take care of the details. These are the 4 levels of creation that the shamans have learned are what informs our reality. Now, most of us are trying to change reality at the level of serpent only, by changing the diagnosis or by changing the spouse or the partner or changing the habit or changing. We know we need to exercise more and meditate more and change the diet, but you cannot change the behavior unless you change the jaguar, unless you change the emotions. You have to change it from the level above. You cannot change a problem at the level that is manifesting or that it was created. That was actually Albert Einstein that said that. You have to change it from the level above. And ultimately, we're able to deal with whatever we run into in our lives energetically. So if you have a pending engagement with a heart attack, because maybe it runs in your family, you don't want to have that engagement at the level of serpent of the body in a hospital. No, better at the level of jaguar, where you deal with your toxic emotions that may be creating so much stress in your life that's going to create a heart condition. But maybe even better at the level of hummingbird, where you can choose a new life direction that includes exercise and good food and doesn't include a heart attack. Or maybe even better at the level of energy, where you can clear that stale chi, that deadly energy, that toxic energy from the luminous energy field. Clear it, upgrade the quality of the field so you don't have to treat it and deal with it physically. This is the gift of the shamans, and this is what the energy medicine training is about. And I've spent 25 years of my life working with the shamans in the Andes, with the high medicine people, including a group of shamans that fled at the time of the conquest to mountaintop villages at 16,000 feet in order to protect the prophecies of the time to come. They called this the prophecy of the Pachacuti, of the turning over of the earth that we're actually going through right now, politically and economically, and with social justice, and we see it all around us. They were the keepers of the prophecy. But for them, the prophecy was not as important as the processes. How do you become the prophet? How do you become the prophecy? How do you become that new human that is appearing on the earth today? And that's what they were truly the great keepers of, because the prophecy of what was to come is a little bit like fortune telling. But the processes of how you become that human that steps beyond death, that can heal spontaneously, this is what was most interesting to them and to me. And I was fortunate enough to be the first American anthropologist to have contact with these men and women and to befriend them. And over the last 50 years, I have been working closely with them and adapting and translating and marrying this ancient wisdom with what we know today about the brain, what we know about the food that we need to eat in order to silence the genes that create disease and to upregulate or turn on the genes that create health. We call this epigenetics. We know that. The ancients had a different name for it, but it was the same thing. They called it dreaming your health and dreaming your world into being. This is what we do at the Four Winds. This is what I've dedicated my life to. And for a long time, this was a part of, still today, part of my daily practice, but it was kind of conceptual until 10 years ago. 10 years ago, I got a really bad diagnosis. I had traveled the world as an anthropologist, been in the jungles in Indonesia and in Southeast Asia and in Brazil and in Peru and in Africa. And I wasn't feeling well. And I went for a complete medical checkup. And they put me on a world map. The doctor said, have you been to Egypt? You have a particular kind of parasite you only find in Egypt. I said, yes. And I had a dead liver. And I had a heart that was full of holes and parasites in my brain. And the doctor said to me, you better get in line for a liver transplant and maybe a heart transplant as well. That's not the kind of news you want to hear. And I thought, well, maybe I could find a liver, maybe I could find a good heart, but where was I going to get a good brain? Very hard to find these days. So I use Western medicine to kill the parasites. And Western medicine is really good at killing things. But after I killed the parasites, I still had a dead liver. And I was gray and pale, and my heart still had holes in it, and I had a bunch of dead parasites in my brain. That's when I did the energy medicine. At the level of serpent of the body, I did the Grow New Body protocol. This is from my most recent book called Grow New Body, the juicing, the plant-based diet, nutrient dense, calorie poor, the things that we know will turn on the genes for health. Emotionally, I had to heal my heart. And I went through that healing process of forgiveness and then gratitude. And then at the level of hummingbird, I had to come up with a new life map, with a new trajectory through life. And at the level of the energetics, to use the interventions that we teach at the energy medicine training of clearing the imprints from the field, upgrading the quality of the field, recovering a lost soul part, soul retrieval. I had to recover that part of myself that was still innocent, that still was surprised by the world, that could still fall in love with life, that had not been there, done that, but that had never been there and never done that. The amateur. I love that word amateur. It actually comes from the French. Amateur means a lover of life. I had to do my soul retrieval. I had to extract energies that didn't belong to me, that belonged to the culture of shame, heal the shame within me. Wow. And I had to make that journey, the Jaguar journey beyond death, to experience timelessness and infinity and bliss. And this is what the online energy medicine training is about, and the residential training, they're identical. But I had to apply it to my own life. It's one thing to talk about it and teach it, and the other to grow a new body and a new liver, and I grew one. My liver was repaired in 3 months, my heart took 6 months, and my brain, I enjoy it more than I've ever had in my life before. I grew a new body. And this is at the basis of the healing practices that we teach, not how to recover from an illness, but how to take the opportunity at these times of quantum evolution to take a leap into who you are becoming, into who the human race is becoming 10,000 years from today. This is the task. This is what we came here to do as modern shamans. And for a long time, I kind of hid from that. People would ask me, what do you do, Alberto? I say, I'm a medical anthropologist. And now I say, I'm a shaman, because I'm an earth keeper. I'm a steward of, I look after nature. I am an amateur. I love this planet we're living in. And I'm a shaman. I know the ways between the visible and the invisible world. I know that we're surrounded by intelligence and by wisdom, and that we can access it directly if we can step into those states of awareness of our higher brain. And this is where the neuroscience is so important, because today we're in the grip of that ancient predatory limbic brain that served us really well 100 million years ago, but that today lives in fear. It lives in scarcity. It's predatory. It's always asking, well, what's in it for me? What am I going to get out of this? This is the brain that is continually occupied and preoccupied. That's always busy, that has no free time. Recently, a friend of mine said to me, Alberto, you're really busy. I said, I'm not busy. I said, I looked at your schedule. I said, yeah, I've got a big schedule, but I'm not busy. Busy is a state of mind. Like I'm probably one of the most unbusy people I know, because I'm not caught in that grip of that survival brain that feeds primarily on sugar and that is stuck in these ancient belief structures about scarcity, about not having enough time or enough love or enough money or enough, but stepping into that higher brain. And the shamans, of course, were not only able to describe it, they learned how to do it. They couldn't describe it, in fact. Today we have the neuroscience that can describe it, but doesn't tell you how to do it. And we have the ancient wisdom that tells you how to do it, but can't talk about neurons and synapses and the neocortex and new brain that is infinite, that can take us into our most extraordinary capabilities. And not only that, but the shamans of old discovered that serpent and jaguar and hummingbird and eagle were not only ways of describing reality, but they were great guardians, great archetypes. They understood that the universe was alive and that you could summon these guardians. In fact, you could call them to create a sacred space in your home or in your office where the power of the serpent would come and the medicine of the jaguar will become available to you, and the wisdom of hummingbird and the gifts that each one of them had. For example, the gift of jaguar is fearlessness. When you connect with jaguar energy, you become fearless. The gift of the serpent is what they call the kundalini in the East. The kundalini, the awakening of consciousness. The Tibetans call them the nagas, the great serpents. Even the caduceus of medicine is a serpent, awakened, rising and acquiring wings. The hummingbird, the wisdom of the hummingbird is to drink only from the nectar of the flowers and not to go to the dung pile anymore, but to drink from the nectar of life and to embark on the hero's journey, on the epic journey. Because hummingbirds actually migrate from Brazil to Canada every year, and they're not even supposed to be able to fly. They go on the great journey, and they don't sit around saying, well, we don't have enough wings or enough time or enough money, or there are no flowers to suck on until we get to Cuba. They go on the great journey and they return. So the hummingbird medicine is about the drinking from the nectar of life and embarking on your destiny, on your great journey. And then the eagle medicine, beautiful medicine. Eagle knows no obstacles. She simply rises above them. The ability to see the curvature of the earth and even the mouse scurrying in the bush, the greater story, the greater scheme of things, as well as the detail. So I'd like to share with you how we summon these archetypes to create sacred space, a healing space, where everything that happens within it is sacred, that filters out much of the negativity in our world today. And it's done by calling on the spirit of the four directions, beginning with the serpent. And what happens is that you call and this serpent energy responds. This beautiful energy of the awakening of consciousness. And it's no longer only a description, but an engagement with the divine principle. And this is the shaman's agreement. The shaman's agreement is that you call and spirit responds, not 50% of the time, 100% of the time. You call on serpent, you call on jaguar, and the jaguar principle of fearlessness, of seeing in the dark, of journeying between the worlds. That medicine is available to you, not 80% of the time, not will it work today, but 100% of the time. You call and spirit answers. But then, of course, you have to understand that the relationship is reciprocal. That it means that when spirit calls, you answer. Not when the children are grown, not when you have enough money in your retirement plan, not when you get a good night's sleep, But you answer, you live in a state of yes, 100% of the time. That's the shaman's agreement. So I invite you to join me if you'd like. Just take a few deep breaths as I call on these 4 great archetypes, and then try it at home. Because the reason you're here today in this program is because we've been together before. Shamans understand that we keep returning, we keep coming back, that we have sat around a fire with the buffalo behind us, that we've been together meditating in a stone temple above the snow line hundreds, thousands of years ago. We've been together before, and we've come back at this time of great crisis and great opportunity to take a quantum leap together to dream a new humanity and a new world into being. So let's begin with the serpent. To the winds of the south, great serpent, mother of the waters, we call on you, mother. Come and wrap your coils of light around us. Teach us your ways, the beauty way, to walk with beauty on the earth, to touch everyone we touch with beauty. Be with us, aho. And then to the west, to the spirit of the jaguar. To the winds of the west, mother, sister jaguar, come to us, mother, walk among our medicine space. Bring us your gifts and your lessons of fearlessness in these times of great fear. Teach us the ways of the dark of the forest. Teach us how to track, and teach us how to step beyond death into infinity. Aho. And to the north. To the winds of the north, grandmothers, grandfathers, ancient ones, guardians and keepers of this land, we call on you. Hummingbird, come and teach us your ways. Share your medicine with us, medicine of the flowers, of drinking only from the nectar of life, of saying yes to that invitation to embark on the hero's journey, on the great quest. Be with us, aho. And to the east, the place of the rising sun, the spirit of the eagle. The winds of the east, mother, sister eagle, we call on you. Fly high above us. Keep us under your wing, mother. Bring us your lessons, your gift of vision, of foresight. Teach us to spread our own wings, that we may fly always wing to wing with the great spirit. Aho. And to Father Sky, to the heavens. Intitaita, Father Sun, Grandmother's Moon, to all the star nations, our star brothers and sisters, the sacred mountains of this land, we call on you, Great Spirit, you who created all of this beauty around us. Thank you for bringing us together today, for allowing us to sing the song of life one more day. Aho. And to Pachamama, Mother Earth. Pachamama, great mother, thank you, mother, for holding us so sweetly, for bringing us your earth medicine of the trees and the barks and the flowers and the roots, and to all our relations, the stone people, the plant people, the creepy crawlies, the winged, the furred, and the finned, all our relations. Thank you, mother. Thank you for holding us and for giving us our life force every day. Aho. And as you summon these archetypes, they respond to you because we live in an inanimate universe, not inanimate. It's animated, it's alive. And this is what the shamans of old understood. They understood that today we're making our way back to the garden, back to Eden, where we can again speak to the rivers and to the trees and to God. And the rivers and the trees and God speak back to us. Thank you. Now I'd like to pass this back to you, Stefan.
Thank you, Alberto. Thank you, thank you. Yeah, we would like to invite you to join us for a fire ceremony. You want to guide that, Alberto?
Why don't you tell us a little bit about the fire ceremony, Stefan, what it is?
Sure. So this path we are embarking on in the shamanic tradition we are in is a path of fire, which means rapid transformation. So what we do quite a lot is we sit in fire ceremony, either outside, which is always really, really beautiful to gather around the fire. Like Alberto said, we've been around the fire together for many, many, many times, many, many lifetimes. But we can also create our own little fire ceremonies inside by just having a candle. And, you know, we open sacred space like Alberto just did for our gathering today. We summon the 4 directions, we connect to Mother Earth and Father Sky. And yeah, then we're in the ceremonial space and connected to the energy of the hummingbird, which reminds us that we're here, you know, in a physical body, but also with a soul that, you know, wants to experience something in this lifetime, the hero's journey, you know, following our soul's calling. And by doing a fire ceremony, we can reconnect to this calling, to that kind of that spark that everyone has somewhere inside of himself or herself. And, you know, we release things from our system, the blockages, all the reasons why we're not embarking on this journey, and all, you know, the stuck energy. We can release it into a little stick, actually a little piece of wood or a toothpick even can hold that energy that we are, you know, when we set our intention to release it, we can blow it into the stick and then bring it into the fire with the intention of transformation. It's not about destroying things or, you know, burning things down. It's this alchemical process of, you know, releasing it to the fire, stuck energy being transformed, connecting back into the matrix and of energy and releasing it from our system, then inviting in this beautiful light of a ceremonial fire to feed our energy centers and to, you know, to make room and to remember that resource that is inside of us waiting to be lived. You know, that's this, to grow our potential, to bring our medicine to the world. That's how we can frame it. And yeah, so rapid transformation. And if you do a fire ceremony, just, you know, experience it with all the levels that Alberto has mentioned, the physical level, on the mental, emotional level of jaguar, also the mythic level of hummingbird, and then feel the pure energy of transformation with eagle.
Thank you, Stefan. So I'd like to invite you, if you have a candle, perhaps get a candle, take a moment. And the fire ceremony is the most ancient ceremony of humanity, because we've been sitting around the fire for 1 million years. Now, we also learned how to use fire about 300,000 years before we learned how to make fire. So the keeping of the fire was the most important job in the village. If the fire went out, it could be 10,000 years before you got it again. And it could mean the death of the old people that needed to be warmed by the fire, or the newborn babies. So the keeping of the fire keeping, humanity's first ceremony. And the path of fire, which is the path that we walk, is a path of rapid transformation, of releasing the energy that is bound into dense matter and turning it back into light. So if you have a candle, you may want to take a little piece of paper or a small stick, even a little rolled up piece of paper. Be careful you don't set yourself on fire. That's rule number 1 among the shamans. So you want to blow into that stick. That's called the death arrow. What is it that has died or that is dying within you that you want to release completely, shed, put into the fire? And then as your stick is burning, after it's finished, you can pass your hands to the fire and bring that energy into you. So I'd like you to blow into that stick or that little piece of paper, whatever is you're ready to let go of, today. You no longer want to continue struggling with or working on, but you're ready to transform it, to have the gifts that are inherent in that pain or suffering or wounding or issue, to have those gifts become available to you. And then you can hold that stick to the fire. Allowing the fire to release all of the energy that is trapped around that issue or that story. So that we're no longer trapped. We're no longer in the grip of that story. And we can instead become the storytellers. There's some very big stories that are happening in the world today. And if we want to break out of the grip of those stories so that we can craft a new story, a healed story, a story of peace, we need to release it to the fire. And then we can pass our hands through the fire and bring that into our heart center, feeding our heart and our luminous bodies and physical bodies with all of that energy that have been trapped in that issue or that story. Now, this is a very abbreviated fire ceremony. Generally, it's done in a big bonfire outside at night with drums, but it's just as effective because it's a practice of intentionality. A practice of intentionality. I invite you to do it at home at this time when we need to come up with a more interesting story for humanity and for the world, a better story that is ecological, sustainable, it is founded in peace, not in violence or in war. We need a bigger story that is a sacred story, but it begins with your story, with you coming up with a sacred story for your life, you becoming the storyteller and no longer the story. And this is what we do with our patients and with our clients as a health coach. As you learn the extraction process and the extracting intrusive energies from a client or clearing imprints in the luminous energy field, or the process of soul retrieval, soul recovery, or the resetting of fight or flight. Today, people are so scared. The children are so stressed. I asked the son of a friend of mine, what are you most scared of? He's 17 years old. And he said to me, going to high school. I'm afraid I'm going to get killed. The tremendous amount of stress and fear that the children and even the old people, if you can reset the fight or flight system so that a person steps out of fear and into peace, and you can do this with a loved one who may be close to dying, they can die consciously. The fear dissipates and they have a luminous experience. So I'd like to invite you, if you have any questions about the course, about the programs, any questions for me, to please put them in the chat box. And our staff is going to curate those questions and they will share them with me. And then I'll try to come up with some answers for you. So let's go ahead and take a moment to do that. Okay, and so while we're waiting for the questions, I'd like to share a story. I'd like to share a story with you. Years ago, we would hold training programs actually in the Navajo reservation in Canyon de Chelly, beautiful canyon in the middle of the United States. And the Hopi used to live there. That was one of the native lands of the Hopi, and now it's part of a Navajo reservation. There was an old Hopi medicine woman, beautiful old woman, 100 years old, wrinkled, dark skin, full of beautiful jewelry, that lived at the base of the canyon. And we have become friends over the years. And she asked me one time, Alberto, tell me about yourself. Who are you? What? I said, well, you know, I was born in Cuba, and I moved to the United States, and my father was really not that available as I was growing up. And it was very difficult for me because I wanted to find a good model of what it meant to be a man. And she said, oh, interesting. I said, tell me about you, grandmother. And she said, the Red Rock Canyon walls am I, the desert sand am I, the wind that blows through these great corridors of stone am I, that child that did not eat today at the reservation am I. I go, wow, what an interesting story. You know, here I was telling her I was, you know, a little boy looking for daddy, and she was telling me she was the wind. So when our program ended a few days later, I was flying back to Los Angeles where I was living. And I was in the front of the plane. I fly a lot, so I get upgraded a lot. And we're about to land in Los Angeles, and the man next to me says, tell me about you. What do you do? Who are you? I say, the Red Rock Canyon walls am I, the desert wind am I. This man looks at me and gets up and walks 4 rows back to coach because he thought I was some kind of strange weirdo. And of course, I was not any of those things. That was a lie. I was still a little boy looking for daddy. I had to come up with a better story, a true story about myself. And this is part of what we do as shamans. We come up with a story that is related to nature, that is related to the sacred, that is in service to humanity, and where we come to serve a purpose that is bigger than we are, but that includes, of course, us. And then we can say, yes, the Red Rock Canyon walls am I. And it is true. It becomes so. So Stefan, how are we doing with questions? Anything you want to throw my way?
Sure. Yeah, we have a couple of questions around how do I know that I'm ready for this? How do I know?
You know, there's a difference between your readiness and your preparation. You're never quite prepared enough for marriage, for example, but you can be ready for it. Readiness is an inner state. And it's a matter of you saying yes to a calling that you feel and to a journey that is, but don't wait until you have all your ducks lined up, until you feel prepared. No, readiness is responding to an inner calling. Your heart and your soul will guide you to that. Don't turn it into a heady engagement.
Thank you.
Okay.
And someone else asked, can we heal our past trauma by going through this journey?
Absolutely. All trauma is from the past. Trauma, remember, what we learn in our training is that trauma is not what actually happened, but it's the way that our loved ones or our clients or we remember it. The story that we wrap around it. It's a story that has a lot of energy, and it keeps organizing reality, our external reality, in the hopes that we could heal it. We keep meeting the people that promise us to become whole, or the big job opportunities that promise us, but instead we end up re-injuring it. So yes, we can heal trauma at the energetic and come up with a more creative story. Find the gift that the universe was offering us through that experience and embody that gift and vow never ever again to learn that way.
Thank you, Alberto. And we have someone asking, how can I become a shaman by doing this online? How does it work?
You don't become a shaman by doing a course online. You become a shaman by saying yes to spirit. And then the course gives you the skills and the tools that you need to be of service in the world. But the process of becoming a shaman is becoming an individual on a sacred journey. And this is, of course, something that you do between you and spirit, you and nature. And this is a personal commitment, a sacred contract that you enter into. And then you need, of course, the skills and the tools. It's like wanting to become a doctor. Say, yes, I have a calling, I want to help people. You got to go to medical school. Except we're not medical school, we're shaman school, we're sacred school, we're energetic medicine school.
Beautiful. Another question, how can we protect ourselves from soul loss?
Well, soul loss happens as a result of trauma that is not healed in the moment, that's not integrated. When you have trauma and you resolve it, it's not trauma. It's simply a bad experience you had. But if it's traumatic, if it lingers and settles into your tissue, into your muscle, into your bones, then you've got trauma. So what happens at that point is that the soul fragments. Soul loss happens when you do not integrate trauma. And then you step out of your destiny. Your destiny is derailed and you go in under the grip of fate. And fate is preordained. It's preordained by your genes, by your trauma. You don't have choice anymore. And the process of soul recovery, of soul retrieval, is recovering your destiny and recovering that soul part that with the gifts that it brings back to you.
And a couple of questions around how can we be safe when, navigating the modern world, being in crowded places, or, with what's going on in the world, with the different aspects that we now have in the news also. How can we manage and navigate that?
Thank you. Thank you for asking that question. I asked the shamans that we work with a similar question not too long ago. They said to me, Alberto, there's nowhere that's safe. There's nowhere that you can be safe. But you can become a safe person that is in the right relationship with life, with the environment, with the great archetypes, the invisible world. And then you become a safe person and you have safety around you.
And someone else asked, how can we as shamans create our reality? How do we dream it into being?
That's a great question. How do we dream reality into being? We're dreaming our experience of reality into being all the time, except that you're dreaming it through the lens of your history. It's interesting to look at the history of the world is written by the conquerors. But if you look at it from the perspective of the defeated, like two countries that were at war, one won, their story of what happened is totally different from the other story. We're always dreaming our experience of the world into being. And what the shaman does is that she is able to see opportunity where everybody else is seeing only danger. She's able to see light where everybody else is seeing only dark. She's able to see possibilities when everybody else is saying, there's nothing we can do. So this is the gift of the great medicine way.
Beautiful. Yeah, maybe one more.
Yeah, let's take one more.
Okay. Yeah, can anyone become a shaman or energy healer? That's been coming up a couple of times now.
No one can become a shaman. But thank you for asking that question. Can anyone become a shaman? Actually, this is said in fun that no one can become a shaman because you have to become no one to become a shaman. You have to lose that attachment, that identification to how important we are or how important our pain is and our suffering and our story. You have to become no one. So it's interesting, if you live in the Himalayas and you wake up one morning and you you don't know who you are, you become no one, everybody applauds because you become a Buddha. But if you live in America and you wake up one morning and you don't know who you are, you have to go into therapy. So the path of the shaman requires that we become no one. And at the same time that we do that, we discover that we are so interconnected with each other, with nature, with the past, with the future, and that who we are is a mystery, even unto ourselves. So we're no longer defined as man, as husband, as wife, as woman, as child. All of those suits of clothing become too small for you. But this is the process of healing. It's not healing only what you perceive happened to you, but to disidentify with all of those identities that have been forced upon us by the times we live in, by our culture, by our family of origin, and becoming no one. So like Rumi says, the poet Rumi that we all love, he says in one of his poems, to the beloved, for I have become no one. I have ceased to exist. Only you are here. To God, I have ceased to exist. Only you are here. Ah, what a beautiful poem. So thank you so much for joining us. I'm passing this back to you, Stefan.
Thank you. Thank you, Alberto, for being with us, for your wisdom and the teachings. And yeah, there were also a couple of questions around our training program, and I'd be happy to tell you more about the training. And actually, the next training starts in just a couple of days, March 30th. We're going to start a new group in the online modality. But before I go into depth with that and sharing more about the curriculum and how the program works, let me share a little bit of my own story and my own path. So about 10 years ago, I was in a different stage of my life, of course. It was 10 years ago, and it was in academia. I was teaching at university in social sciences and had a focus on new media and what today we would call social media. And I loved what I did, and I was a keynote speaker and then freelance consultant, but I didn't really take good care of my health. So I ran into my own version of being burned out. And when I understood that and had to find my way out of that, I found different healing modalities, to get my feet on the ground again. And it was about 10 years ago when, on a journey through Canada, I was actually on Vancouver Island. I saw by chance this little note saying shamanic healing, and I've never even knew that there were shamanic healings out there. Back then, I heard the term shamanism, but I wasn't aware what it was. But I felt really this deep calling to just have the experience. So I booked a session with that shaman. And I have to say, it was really a deep, profound experience. Like my scientist brain was like, what just happened? And something deep inside of me just knew, wow, I always knew that there was more to life than, the physical, what you can touch or what you can see. And that was my spark that brought me on this path. And, the scientist in me needed a couple of books to read. And I found Alberto's books, and it made all sense to me what was written there. And this was like one level of my calling and my stepping more deeply into this. But it mostly was what I felt was not even written there, but it was kind of, when reading what he was sharing, I could kind of feel the truth in there. I could feel the ancient wisdom, and I could feel the medicine that might be in there for me. So that's how I found this path. And now I'm with the Four Winds as one of the academic advisors. I'm also part of faculty teaching in the programs. And, looking back, this was like 4 years ago. I did the online training myself when I graduated from the program. And it feels like it has been 10 or 20 years ago. So because so many things shifted and changed in my life, and I now have this deep sense of being on this soul's journey, this mythic journey, my own hero's journey, and not knowing where it will, lead me to. So it's always stepping in and showing up for my calling each and every single day. And it took a while to release the past and stepping into the new, and really transforming my life. And what really tremendously helped me to heal myself first was to embark on this journey with the Four Winds. And in our curriculum, you will actually be invited to tend to your own healing, to show up for yourself and answer that call that you might have heard, and that brought you actually here to this meeting maybe. And while we take you through the medicine wheel journey, and you will go and release the past like the serpent, you will face some of your shadow pieces and your fears to become fearless with Jaguar, and then stepping into the hummingbird medicine, where you will retrieve your lost soul parts. And then in the east, it's pure energy. And while you go through this journey, we will teach you how you can do this for others, how you can show up as a modern day shaman to do the illumination process, which is our core process. We teach you how to track the energy field of a client. We teach you how to track for those imprints that Alberto spoke of earlier, and how to take them out of the field and then bring in the pure light. That's why it's called the illumination process. And we will teach you the extraction work, how to extract stuck energy, how to extract fluid energies or entities. And we, of course, will teach you how to do shamanic journeys. And this is, again, hummingbird medicine. We will teach you how to journey to the lower world, to the upper world, and also along the timeline of a client. So you will connect to completely different perceptions of time and space. You step out of linear time and three-dimensional space that we are so used to in the West, and connect to this sacred time where we can actually journey to the past and into the future. And in the East, when we connect with the eagle medicine, you will learn how to do the great death rites, how we can guide a dying person to transition lightly and fully into the light, how to go home into the light. And it's a path of experience. So this is really key. If you say yes to the call, be ready to go on your own healing journey first. And there's a couple of other modules that we have in our program, the neuroscience piece that Alberto spoke of, and that you also saw in our trailer, which kind of bridges, the knowledge of the shamans of old to the cutting edge modern day science. And in the program, there's also the Grow a New Body piece, where we will give you all the information on how to actually grow a new body, how you can support your physical body and your energy body to really let go of the toxins on a physical level, but also the toxic emotions, to then step into your becoming and to embark on this mythic journey even more deeply. And there's a couple of other amazing teachings that we will cover in the 6 months online training, or in the 28-day intensive 300-hour in-person training. While you go through the online training and also the residential training, you will receive the rites of initiations. You will receive the rites of the Munyaki, and also you will assemble your own mesa, which is, I'm going to show you mine, which is your shaman's bundle that will hold your medicine stones that we call kuyas. So while you go through the journey, do your own healing, you will also assemble your mesa, and you will be initiated into the different lineages, and also your mesa will receive the blessings. And because someone asked earlier in the chat box, how does this all work online? Let me give you a brief overview of how the online program works. So it's a 6 months program. The next one just around the corner, March 30th, we're going to start. And everyone who joins the training will receive access to our course platform, which is a web-based environment. And on this platform, we will open up the 10 modules over the course of the 6 months. And so everyone will start at the same day, and then teachers will guide you through the complete curriculum. And the teaching material is video-based, so you will see Alberto and also Marcela Lobos in the videos as your main teachers. And this is like one piece of the online training. The other piece is every week on the same day of the week for 90 minutes up to 2 hours, there's a weekly Zoom meeting with all the other students and with the teaching team who will guide you through the journey. And this is where we create community. And this is where we will sit in ceremony, where we do fire ceremonies, where we do the rites of initiations. And also, of course, this is where we will do question and answers. This is where you as an IU, as a community of learners, we will put you into breakout rooms to do like a small group assignment. So you will meet many amazing new people, your fellows IU members. And so it's really practical. It's really interactive how we create those Zoom meetings. And also in the Zoom meetings, we will kind of weave together the teaching material, and we'll give you step-by-step demonstrations on how to do the illumination process, either over distance, or if you have a client right in front of you, maybe in your own healing practice, we'll teach you how to do that as well. The shamans of the Peruvian Andes, the Queros, the Pacos, the shamans will join us throughout the course every once in a while to do a despacho, like or to give one of the rites. And Alberto, he will join in usually once a month for Q&A, so you will have the chance to ask your questions directly and get your answers. And the third pillar of the online training, like technically we use a social network kind of thing. It's not Facebook, but this is where we build community in between the live calls. And this is where you will meet other students. This is where you will, connect to do practice sessions with each other and to schedule practice sessions with each other. So it's really a path of experience, not just us teaching you, it's you going on this journey and reconnecting to your own medicine, to begin to embody that more and more and follow this calling. Because many of you in the poll shared you want to show up to heal yourself, but also others. And this is what you will get in our 6 months online training. And the same is, of course, true for the in-person training. Everyone who's signed up will get lifetime access to the teaching material. And with every module comes a workbook, which will also give you some guidance and like summaries of the step-by-step protocols that we teach. And, a couple of people asked, how much time do I have to invest to follow the program? And this is a big thing. It's not only for you to say yes to the calling and showing up for that. It's also you planning in to actually do the training and to really deeply follow what's in there for you and, gather all the gifts while you're on this path. You need to invest at least 10 to 12 hours every week. And once you start practicing with fellow students, a couple of more hours. So maybe 15 hours is a good average based on my experience to really deeply follow this program. And what we invite you to do is to book a free academic consultation, either with me or with my dear colleagues. And we are happy to answer more of your questions around, where you're at in your own journey, if it's a fit, if this is the right time for you, and also, about tuition and payment plans, like all the logistics that are connected to joining our program. And we invite you to, book your free consultation. We're going to share a link with you in just a moment. And hopefully we will see each other again to invite you and to welcoming you as part of one of our training programs. And maybe Laura, you can share the link in the chat box to book that free academic consultation so that people can have a look. And I'm going to share also my screen for a moment. Just let me find the right graphics. And keep asking your questions in the chat box, and we will cover them as well as good as we can. So if you want to find out more about our training program, please feel free to book a free consultation, academic consultation, and you can see the link here, live.4winds.me/free call. And my colleagues and myself would be happy to answer more of your questions. And yeah, hopefully help you embark on this journey and this path to become a modern day shaman. All right. So I think Alberto is no longer with us, so I invite you to join me to close directions. Like Alberto has opened sacred space for our meeting today for the fire ceremony and his sharing of his wisdom and his comments. So let me grab my rattle. And before we close directions, just invite you to close your eyes, connect to your heart space. You can put one of your hands or both hands on top of your heart. Just take a mindful breath in and a releasing breath out. Another inhale, release. Just ask yourself, what is your spark that brought you here today? What is your soul's longing? And keep breathing while you let the answers come in. What is your calling to become a modern day shaman? To heal yourself and others? Just let your body tell you. Maybe there's a sensation in your body, maybe a vibration, a tingling, maybe some colors. Maybe there's just an inner knowing or feeling. Just let that bubble up. Thanking your soul that it's guiding you, inviting you to answer Spirit's call. And take 3 more breaths, inhaling through your nose, exhale through your mouth. Thanking the guidance, the answers that you just received. Becoming aware that we're in this sacred space with serpent, jaguar, hummingbird, and eagle. And now join me in releasing the 4 directions, thanking them for their presence today. To the winds of the south, great serpent, thank you. Thank you for being present here today, for teaching us your ways, for teaching us to shed our past the way you shed your skin, for teaching us the beauty way to walk softly and in beauty on the earth. Thank you, thank you, thank you, great serpent. Aho! And to the west. To the winds of the west, Mother, Sister, Jaguar, Otorongo, thank you for being here today to protect our medicine space, teaching us your ways to be impeccable and to become fearless and to trek deep into the dark shadow pieces to retrieve our soul's calling and to go beyond death, to walk between the worlds fearlessly. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Aho. To the winds of the north. Grandmothers, grandfathers, ancient ones, thank you for joining us here today, for whispering us in the wind your wisdom, for sitting around the fire with us, for holding the seat around the fire for us. Thank you, thank you, thank you. And thank you, Hummingbird, Sivar Kenti. Thank you for teaching us your ways to practice stillness while in motion and to embark on our own epic journeys, following this deep, deep calling of our soul. Thank you, thank you. Aho, and to the winds of the east. Thank you, Eagle. Thank you, Condor, for taking us under your wings, for taking us up high so that we can see the holy mountains and to broaden our view, to broaden our vision, to have more clarity of the big picture without losing the sight of all the little details in life, all the guiding invitations to follow this path we are all on. Thank you, thank you, thank you for teaching us how to fly wing to wing with the Great Spirit. Aho. And Mother Earth, Pachamama, thank you. Thank you for nurturing us. Thank you for sharing your abundance with all of your children. And thank you so much for loving us unconditionally. Thank you for the healing of all of your children, the stone people, plant people, the four-legged, the two-legged, the winged, the furred, the fin, the creepy crawlers, the microbes, and all our relations. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Aho. Father, Sun, Grandmother Moon, to the star nations, thank you for shining your light on us, for reminding us that we are this light. This light shines within us, and that we are invited to show our light, to share our light with the world. And thank you, Great Spirit. You who have 1,000 names, but yet you remain the unnameable one. Thank you for allowing us and for bringing us together today to sing the song of life one more day. Aho. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today. And we will share a little video clip with you guys with some testimonials of people who have been taking our training program, and we hope you enjoy it. And again, please book your free academic consultation by following the link. And this meeting has been recorded. You will get a link tomorrow for the replay if you want to catch up and rewatch what we did together today. So thank you so much for showing up, and see you around the fire. Thank you. Okay, let me share that video.
My name is Martha Abbott, and I live on Martha's Vineyard Island. I do teach yoga, and I also am a teacher at the Four Winds, so I teach the energy medicine training. I took my first training with the Four Winds in 2007 through serendipitous events. Someone said that they were taking this energy medicine training, someone that I was teaching with at a weekend workshop. And she said, you know, I think you should look into that. I took the course, I met Alberto. As it turned out, it was the most effective work that I had ever done for helping people shift things. Where before I was working with the physical body, but through movement, but working with the energy body, it was like you could affect change much more effectively and quickly. So it was like, wow. I've just stepped into what completes the picture for me as far as helping people to heal. There's something about the community, and we call it IU, the tribe, that happens in this work that is so filled with love that it truly holds you, and it's immediate. It happens so fast. The other thing is that when you step into this beautiful energy of yourself as a luminous being, and really accessing that part of yourself that is divine. Your soul has the space to be heard. Its longing is heard, and its longing is fulfilled because you're finally listening. So with the online training, it works just as well as if we were doing this in person. We have a way of people getting in touch with each other all the time during the course of the training, so they get connected right away, and then they work in smaller groups together in the live classes, and it's a longer period of time, so you really have time to integrate the work that you're doing. I would highly encourage those people that want to do this and yet can't step away from their life in order to take like a month or 2 weeks to do the in-person training. It is the most effective way of getting to those things that hold one back from having the most beautiful destiny, the most beautiful celebration of their particular gifts in this lifetime. When you get the calling, then you're the one that's supposed to take this. And yes, there may be doubt, there may be that sense of both excitement but trepidation at the same time. When you get that calling, just say yes.
My name is Andrea Vergara Silva, and I am a physician from Colombia. I was very drawn first to Alberto by a video that I saw where he was describing his process of realizing some things in his life that impacted the way he interacted with reality very much, and I thought that was a very powerful video. And then there was something called the Earthkeeper Summit, where I saw Marcela doing the rite of the womb. And so I decided to look them up, and then I put the two together and I thought, oh wow, what a couple, how interesting. And so I did the Munaiki rites, and I just fell in love with this. I think it's powerful, it's beautiful, profound, life-changing. For me as a scientist, I really like the fact that Alberto is extremely knowledgeable in his art, in the shamanic arts, but also he is very knowledgeable in neuroscience, for example, and in neurobiology, and he integrates the two knowledges very, very well. And what I think is incredible about this approach to the human experience is that it fosters health and healing rather than focusing on the diagnosis. And it takes into account several dimensions of the human being, including the spiritual, energetic, psychological. I am a shaman and a healer, and I'm absolutely empowered by what we learn here, which is the medicine wheel, and together an understanding of how several of the archetypes from the Karo tradition are incorporated into my life, and how they represent different levels of how we view life, and how we can use those different levels to get different perspectives of our reality. It's one of the, if not the best, one of the best experiences I've ever had as a physician, as a human being, as a scientist, and as a spirit. It really goes deep into the essence of who you are.
My name is Gilbert Martina. I'm from the island of Curaçao that lies in the Caribbean, in front of the coast of Venezuela. My background is chemical engineering, but I have worked in the chemical industry for a short bit. Since 2007, I have been involved with the transition from the old hospital to the new hospital. And since July of this year, I've been appointed as the CEO of the new hospital of Curaçao. Someone in Curaçao told me about Alberto. He was reading his books, and he also like a shaman. So then I started reading about Alberto Villoldo and his books. So I came here, I did a program, and for me it was a life-changing program. What excites me is the being in contact, like we say, the middle word, the world we're living right now, is in contact with the spiritual world. There is a very nice saying that we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, but we are spiritual beings immersed in a human life. So that's what attracts me, how to be in contact with spirit, with Great Spirit, and the universe, God, however you will call it, and receiving the messages and co-create beauty for this world, right here and right now. It was in February 2020 when we started the extraction. We are sitting in class, they distributed the papelitos, and a lady from Peru, Monica, got the paper to be the one that Marcela is going to demonstrate the extraction on. That lady, because I've been talking to her and she is from Peru, never has spoken English in her life. And as soon as they were starting to heat up her energy field, she starts speaking English with a very heavy voice, man. Leave me alone, I don't want to leave, I want to stay here. And Marcela with the crystal talking to the entity, because she has an entity. No, this is not your home, we have to leave, we have a better home for you here. And as soon as Marcela extracted the entity, she fell down completely out of order. And she was telling after that years before, since her 18 years, she always had pain at night, pain in her legs, could not sleep well. And as of from that day, they did the extraction, took out that entity. She slept like a baby. So for her, it was like a miracle has happened. Never knowing that she had an entity in her energy field. So that was for me like, wow. Very intense and very beautiful to see how simple it is, but how powerful it is to bring healing to the human life. The practices, I've been applying them in my personal life since 2007, and the techniques for healing, I've been practicing them since last year. Primarily, I'm offering to friends and family because due to my daily work and full-time job. But I do like to speak about, I call it the therapy of love, where I work in the hospital, because I truly believe that love is the medicine that solves and heals every disease. So, and that's the energy medicine all about. It's an honor to be here and to be able to learn all about the knowledge and the ancient techniques, and to take that into my daily life and use those techniques to heal.
Hello, my name is Cristina Maria Fort Garces, and I live in Brooklyn, New York, and I am a creative arts therapist as well as a Gestalt and somatic psychotherapist. I did a coaching training, and we had a requirement to see a coach, and the coach that I went to see had graduated from the Four Winds and incorporated a lot of this material into her coaching. And it felt for me the missing element. I read about the Four Winds and I was like, this is it, this is what I'm missing. It blends, embodiment and even therapeutic practices. Also, it has the element of the communion with spirit and Pachamama. So what feels unique about it is that it feels like it's the whole package here. The discomfort that you can encounter in this training is absolutely incredible and necessary. If you are needing to shift something or step into something, I really feel that this training helps propel you through that fear or whatever that block is, but be ready to get down and dirty, but in such a beautiful, transformative way.
So my name is Doru. I live in Romania, a beautiful country in Eastern Europe. 3 years ago, someone asked me a question: what would I do if all resources will be available for me? So basically, if money would not be a problem, what I will do? I panicked because I didn't know the answer back then. A while afterwards, my daughter came. She was born with a heart condition, which was quite serious. She needed surgery 1 week after the birth. We went through quite an adventure, but everything changed for me. When I came back into my reality, From back then, I just couldn't just go back to business as usual. Something shifted, something changed, and I knew that I have to find the answer to that question, that previous question, which basically meant who I am and what I want to do. I decided to quit my job and do everything I can to find that answer. People came into my life, many teachers. Spirituality became the new normal for me. I learned a lot. I started to do meditations daily, which brought me closer and closer to myself. I felt better and better, but still something was missing. The angels from the internet brought me the Grow New Body book of Alberto. I read the book and I said, wow, that's right. I decided to do the program from the book immediately. I did the program, I felt very, very well. I liked his approach, his way of teaching and of explaining things. And I looked immediately on the website for more information from Alberto. I found details about the residential program, and in 2 days I decided that this is right for me. It felt like the missing puzzle piece. Or what happened here in the past month exceeded all my expectations, and more than that, it exceeded my imagination of what I thought it is possible. How I would describe it? I died here. I died from a life of fear, of insecurity, of anxiety, and I got reborn into a new life as a divine being having a human experience. Now I feel empowered. I have my answer of who I am. Now it feels for me that my meaningful life is just beginning. My purpose was also found here, which is to bring balance to me and to the world. And how it came to me one of these days is just with the light flowing through me, I create magic and spread it to the world. This is not just a program, this is not just a training, this is a rebirth, and it doesn't matter if it's through a screen or on the phone, it doesn't matter. The intention is there, the energy is there. I see here as a heaven where all of us were pulled into and attracted to this heaven, to heal ourselves and to be reborn in those times when Pachamama, our Mother Earth, needs us the most, and find our gifts and bring the gifts into the world.
My name is Pia. I come from Slovenia. The last 15 years I live in Germany. I find something was missing in my work, because I was studying and learning the systemic psychotherapy, which didn't help me in some cases. So I came to energetic field, this working with energy, and starting to study the books of Alberto, watching the videos, and this was like for me a new opening, and I saw great potential for my clients. Trying to understand everything, what happens in life, or trying to deal with the problems only with the mind was not enough, never for me personally, and also not helping people. It's like you try always to find the words, the meaning, the understanding, and the energy is like filled, our opportunities, are all these possibilities, which is sometimes like a story, and you have to feel it. There's actually no limits, so it's a possibility to go over the limits of our mind. This changed me personally, and of course also for my job. It's a new field. It's the group dynamic. It's how we are here going intensively from morning till evening. It's family, which I felt really intense here. So we were like Aini, we were like, that's what we are teaching, and I would like to continue this. That's why we are keeping this group also active. After we finish the training, we will be connected, and we can help ourselves to put this medicine in the world more effective if we are like a group. I'm now a different person and a different healer.